Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to the virtual lounge of the Single Women's Society. Happy Thanksgiving week to my American beauties. I'm so grateful and thankful for all of you. Welcome to the show. I am your host and dating coach, Kat Cantrell, and it is Thanksgiving week. And I'm so excited you're spending some time with me. And let's just be honest, I am so thankful for all of you because guess what? November is the most downloads we've ever had, which means you're subscribing, which means you're sharing with your friends and your family. More and more of you are listening to these episodes. And I am so thankful for all of you. So thank you so much. And I'm incredibly thankful for this beautiful soul that I am bringing to all of you today, my special guest, Carla Reeves. And this isn't an interview. This is more of an open conversation that Carla and I had. She also has a podcast called Differently. She is a mindset coach for leaders. So her and I realized the more we were getting to know one another, how there was a lot of similarities in the way that we coach. And Carla and I met through our group coaching program that we belong to, a mastermind. And just like my episode that aired last week, when I said, when you see someone and you're like, I want to get to know more about this person. And that's how I felt about Carla when I first met her. I was like, she seems to be an amazing individual. I want to get to know her. And so Carla and I, from the moment we met, we see each other online on a consistent basis. And we had this great idea that we would just have an open conversation and just to kind of see where it would lead. And we kind of touch a lot about journaling and about love and about life. And it was quite the beautiful conversation. And so I can't think of a better week to share this open conversation with all of you. So let me give you a little bit more of some information about Carla before we begin. So Carla, for over a decade, ambitious leaders have been relying on Carla to call out their blind spots, challenge their thinking, and expand their perspective. Carla believes in ditching the illusion that life will be great someday in the future and teaches leaders how to wake up their thinking to create and live a juicy, rich, meaningful, everyday life now. I love this. I love the fact that she teaches her clients to ditch the illusion that life will be great someday. And that's part of what we teach here at Single Women's Society, right? Is to help you embrace yourself and love yourself in the current form and to live your best life now, to live the exciting life now, to not rely on that relationship, but to truly live your exciting life now. Because if you're loving your life now, that's when love finds its way to you. So, okay. Well, without further ado, ladies, let me welcome Carla Reeves to the show. So Carla and I are in a coaching program together, and we met. I've been in this coaching program for over a year. And Carla, when did you? It was just recently, right?
In June.
In June, and I think I've told Carla this, but I like the moment that she came into the group and like I saw her, I was like, I need to talk to her. There was something just so glowy about you. Like I could tell that you were my kind of person. So
I felt that, I mean, the feeling was mutual. I felt the same way. And I think we connected like really quickly.
we did. And then we ended up in the same
to
mastermind, which was great. So, and then we were talking about being, here having this open conversation, because even though the both of us do something completely different, there is some similarities with the work that we do with our clients. And we both felt that both of our audiences could benefit from just having this kind of coffee talk, even though we're not having any coffee, but just having this like open conversation about love versus fear. So I know that the holidays are around the corner, and I feel that I worry because there's this unnecessary pressure when it comes to expectations, because it's not just like for my work, for relationships, like finding someone, but also it's the end of the year. Like, what have I accomplished this year? It's the expectations of the pressure of, what have you been able to do with yourself this year? And I feel that a lot of, and then going through the holidays on top of all of that is can be such a difficult
Mm,
time for people.
that's so true. There's a lot. I mean, there's like, you don't even like things we don't even think about. Like we always think the holidays and there's so much busyness and so much to get done. But you're right, there's so many other pressures and maybe, things that are incomplete. Like we're reflecting, right? We're reflecting and we're thinking back to what we were going to create this year and did it happen and judging all of it. And when in reality, there's like an opportunity. It's such a beautiful time of year, to reflect and to think back and to create what's next and, all of that. But you're right. I think there's a lot of noise and heaviness that permeates all of it. And maybe it doesn't need to.
I think it's unnecessary. I think a lot of it's made up by, I think some of it's commercialized, meaning the old commercials of like Thanksgiving and Christmas and having this picture perfect life and relationships. And I think that social media has added a lot of pressure to all of that too. But for me, I know that I always use this time as a time of reflection to think about how far I've come this year and taking this time to reflect on the wins that I've had this year and what are the things that I have been able to do with myself this year instead of focusing on everything that I don't have, focusing on everything that I do. Because I do, there's a quote that actually Brian and I, my partner Brian, were just talking about this. That do you remember Dr. Laura?
Yes. My mom loved her.
Yeah. So Dr. Laura, even though you may, and this is probably dating us, what was she had a talk show, what, in the 90s, 80s and
Yes.
90s,
Yes.
where she was very conservative, but there was a lot of things that she said that really rang true that I felt when it came to love. And one of the things that she said in relationships, and this can probably hold true with everything, is the moment you start focusing on everything that you don't have, that's when you're in trouble.
So true. I always share this video with my clients. It's called the missing tile. And it's how we, like the premise is like you're sitting in a classroom and like looking up and, the roof and there's one missing tile and how we can just get focused on the one missing tile instead of all the tiles that are in place and how we do that all over our life. Like if we're wanting to get pregnant, all we see is pregnant women and then feel sad that it's not happening for us. Or if we're single and we want a partner, we see everybody with partners and how happy they are. And I mean, it's just all over, right?
Gosh, I've never heard of that, but that is absolutely, you're going to have to share that video with me. That sounds
I
great.
will. I totally will. It's a great video. It's a great
Um,
video.
that is so true. And it's one of the key things that I teach single women is to stop focusing on the end result. Like focus on the
Mm.
now, focus on yourself, focus on create the life that you deserve without putting that piece into it. Because if you can't be happy in your own skin, just being you and living your own life independently, it's going to be a struggle to find something to fill that void, to depend on to someone for depending on someone else to fill that void in your life when you're not being able to fill it yourself is a really difficult thing to go through.
There's so much synergy, I think, in the work you do and the work I do, and like the foundation of where we come from, because
Mhm.
that's exactly right. Like in the work I do with people, it's like I call it the someday illusion. Like someday I'm going to have this, and someday when I have
Yes.
more money, and someday when I lose weight, and someday when, right? Someday when. And really, it's about don't wait. Like that's my mission is like to help people start living their life now. Don't wait. And it's all about um really thinking about what is it you want to experience and what is it you want to feel and what can you do right now in this moment to create more of that in your life. And then as you become more of that, you attract more of that, right? Instead of looking for somebody or some job or the next house or the next raise to make you happy, you have to start cultivating that right here in this moment where you are.
Mm.
And then you attract, right, more of that into your life and you start to see more of that. It's an inside out. You know, I told you when we were chatting before, like I lived most of my, like half of my life, like so focused on everything on the outside and trying to have that line up just so, and then I was going to be happy. And I I like knew like through a huge pivot point in my life that something had to change. There was something more possible. I didn't know how to get there, but I made it my mission to figure it out. And the figuring it out that came was that I had to start on the inside and I had to start cultivating my inner life. And my, you know, that involved cleaning up my thoughts and cleaning up the ways I perceived myself and the world around me and like cleaning up the environment of my mind. And as I did that, everything on the outside started to look and feel different. And it didn't require a new person in my life. It didn't require a new job. It didn't require moving to a new city. It didn't require any of that. It was incredible.
So for my listeners, can you give an example of how do you do an exercise with your clients, or how, what is like, what is one example of like a worksheet or a PDF or something that you provide your clients to help them start gaining this clarity?
Yeah. So let me just share like the how I got the clarity at first, and then I'll share how it ties into my work today. And
Perfect.
but I did it through writing, and so when I was going through these different pivot points in my life, like I felt this incredible calling to write. And I had journaled off and on as a teenager, but this was very, very different. And I listened and I started writing. And as I started writing, like at first it was awkward, it was weird, I didn't like how I sounded. I wanted to sound like my friend and be like this great writer. There was so much judgment, and but there was something that just kept me showing up and showing up even though I didn't feel like it was working. And over a period of time of just showing up and writing, just showing up and writing, I there was like a few, I don't even know how many months later, but I was looking back over my journal and just like floored by what had happened on the pages of my journal. Like not only like there was this process of self-acceptance that like layers started getting peeled, and there was like clarity of like my creativity and tapping into my spirituality and like on and on and on. Like I was really just like sitting on the edge of my bed, like floored at what had happened over time on the pages of my journal just through writing. And I knew at that time I had to share it with other people. And that's a whole nother story, how it all began. But today I do the same thing with my clients is I start them writing, and they write. I have an online platform, so they write and then I can read their journal. And my coach training is all about reading the words and helping people find their blind spots and reflect their truth back to them, and help ask questions that they may not be asking themselves and challenge things they're telling themselves, and on and on and on. And so it's through a writing process that you can find your truth. And for me, I wasn't living my truth. And I was, you know, pretend like putting out this front of who I thought I should be. And so when I first started journaling, that's what was coming out. And I'm like, I don't like her. I don't like her. I want to be
Mm.
something different. And I remember there was a day that I was writing, and like all I can describe it as is like this girl skipped across the page. And I'm like, I want to know her.
Mm.
And over the days, like she started coming out like more and more and more. And when she came out, there was no judgment of how it sounded or what she was saying or what she wrote. Like that was the truth. And what I tell my clients is like, when you tap into like the very truest part of who you are, there's nothing not to like, not in like an egotistical kind of way, but in just really grounded, rooted kind of way. And I just kept like nurturing her and letting her come out in my journal where it was safe. And over time, she would start to pop out in my everyday life. And over time, like that just became like she became full time in my life. So that's how it happened. And that's how I help my clients too. So writing, get out your journal, get out a journal and just start writing and be committed to showing up and doing it even when nothing's happening, and just keep digging, because you will find it. People are afraid of they're going to find something that that's not good, and they're afraid to write through some of their stuff. But what I know is like the more afraid you are to do it, the more treasure that's there.
Yes. It's funny because I also, surprise, have my clients have a journal. It's the same.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yes. So because of all of the reasons why you mentioned, and to me, it's a way to document your life, to document your journey, because I found that I wasn't a journaler, like a committed journaler, until the pandemic, until my world came crumbling, where I was like, okay, we need to have a conversation with myself. Let's talk. I need to have a conversation with her. What's next? Right? What are the next steps? And I fell in love with it. I mean, when you make a commitment to something like that, to where you're having this ongoing daily conversation with yourself, you look forward to it.
You do. You do. And we were talking about clarity, like before we went live, hit record, we were talking about clarity, but to me, that's what journaling is. And writing, journaling, I think, has a lot of baggage and stereotypes around it, but it's really just writing. But like, I can sit down for 5 or 10 minutes now, and I can be in my head thinking about something and feeling like I don't know, and I don't know what to do, and like on and on. And then I can sit down and write now, and just like that, just have absolute clarity about something and peace. Or, it's like, it's the practice, like just gets better and better and better.
It does. And there's some days where it's all I write is affirmations, because there might be some days where I'm like, I got 5 minutes, but I want to make sure and keep this time and commitment to myself. And then there's some days where I'll write 4 or 5 pages. And those are the days where, like, just like you said, like I used to teach my clients where it's just start with a sentence, or start with 2 sentences and see what happens. And then just allow yourself to relax and allow the thoughts to keep going. And I don't think that people spend this time on themselves, and they lose that, just like you said it, they lose that conversation with themselves. They lose that relationship and that conversation, that inner conversation. And yet they are afraid to have that conversation because of what's underneath there. And so for me, part of her journey with me is not only documenting of her thoughts and her feelings, but also to figure out and plan out what is it that she wants in her life. Like, what are her expectations of herself? What is it that she's seeking out in a partner? What does she really want? Because what she notices is that when she first starts using the journal, she may think that she knows what she wants. But as she slowly journals and allows more and more to come out and really start having that relationship with her, when she goes back, she's like, I can't believe. And I'm sure you run this with your clients too.
Oh, for sure.
I can't believe who I was, who this person was, and what I was looking for 6 months ago. I am not the same person.
That's exactly right.
even
And
though
I
they
think it's
are.
yeah, exactly. I think it's well, and I think it's like those surface wants and needs. It's like the,
Yes.
you know, pressures from wherever, that we have, that we think we need to be this, or we think we need to be that, or thinking we need to want this. And what I find, and you probably do too, is that people know what they want, but they've maybe never given themselves permission to
Oh,
actually
yes.
let it let it out. And it's such a cool process to see somebody go through and tap into their truth. And you had asked about like what's a PDF or something like that. And one of the first exercises I have people do is to just monitor their thoughts and their mood for like a week. And so they show up every day and they write like what are you thinking about today? What's like keeps circling in your head that you can't get rid of today? Like when were you triggered today? How did that impact your mood? And it's you just the key at first is just to raise your awareness to what is happening in your mind, like the perpetual noise that is happening up there, because that is creating your experience of life. It's creating a lens through which you see everything. And when you can learn to actually start to take control over that, is when you have power and influence over your experience in your everyday life.
Yes. Sorry, I like take these deep breaths because I'm like, what can you say other than yes? Because I completely agree with you.
Yeah. How do we wrap this up?
I don't know. We could just keep talking
We
forever.
could just keep talking. Maybe we should have like an all day episode one time. Do you think anybody would listen?
I don't know. It'd be super fun. We could do a YouTube live.
So fun.
I
So
know.
fun. It's so easy to talk to you.
It's so
And
easy to
there's
talk to you
so
too.
many like branches off of this conversation that we can go. So maybe it's the first of more.
Yeah, I agree. Do you want to tell my audience how to reach you if they want to find you?
Yeah. So the best way to reach me is, well, I have a podcast called Differently, if you're not on that podcast now. And you can reach me at carlareeves.com. And I'm also on Instagram at Carla S. Reeves and LinkedIn too with that same.
Awesome.
Uh,
You can also find me on LinkedIn, but I'm not on there very often. I like to spend most of my time on Instagram making
your
those
people are on.
reels.
Yes, you have got, I don't care if you're single or not, you've got to go look at her reels.
Which
Oh
reminds
my
me, I need
gosh.
to record one today.
I'm not going to say anymore. You're just going to be surprised and you're going to love it. So,
Oh,
and all,
Carla, you're awesome.
not only your reels, but like your wisdom inside of, I don't know, like in the notes or inside of
Mm.
your podcast. Like I've listened to your podcast and there's so much wisdom. And so
Oh,
thank you for the work you're doing.
oh, thank you
So
for the
good.
work that you're doing.
Yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
happy our paths crossed
Yes. It's been
and continue to
wonderful.
cross.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll have to continue this conversation.
Yeah, for
We'll have
sure.
to do this will be the first episode of many. So thank you, Carla.
Sounds great. Thank you, Kat.
What did I tell you? Wasn't that a great open conversation? And stay tuned. We might have part two. You might have part two coming your way, but a huge, gigantic virtual hug and a thank you to Carla. I love you, girl. Thank you so much for your time and energy and love. And there's no better thing than to meet another woman who also has a passion of helping others in the way that we do. So I'm just so grateful for Carla and her friendship. So I hope you all enjoyed this week's episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, hey, what's up? It's so good to see you. Please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and click the bell to be notified every time a new episode gets uploaded. And if you are listening on Spotify or Apple, please make sure to like, or follow and to leave us a review, because that's how other people get to find us. And I really, really appreciate it. And I love seeing your reviews. So thank you all so much. And if you have social media, Facebook or Instagram, come and follow me at Can't Control or game.forlove. That's the period, game.for love, because Game for Love, it's a thing, a live dating game show, and we are still looking for contestants. Tickets go on sale actually this weekend. If you want more information about the game show, please go to theheartagency.com. All right, my love. Happy Thanksgiving week to my American friends. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving, and I am thankful for you. I'm thankful for my clients, and I'm just thankful to be here with all of you. So thank you again, and I will see you all next time. And remember, true love is waiting for you. See ya. Bye.